Welcome back to The Mindful Trainer. I'm your host, Melanie Webb, and today's episode is a little different. There's no guest sitting across from me, no expert joining from across the country, no story except the one that I want to tell. It's Thanksgiving week here in the United States, and it felt like the perfect moment to hit pause. Not only because I'm a little tired, but also to reflect, to look back at how the podcast started and to honor the people who helped me shape its very first season. And more importantly, to share a little more about my why. When I dreamed up the Mindful Trainer, it was almost called the Naked Trainer. Perhaps, fortunately for everyone, that name was already taken, but it really wasn't because I needed another project on my plate. But one thing I did want to create was richer, deeper content, the kind that I just can't deliver in little social media sound bites. But I also wanted to strengthen the bonds of my own network, my friends, my colleagues, my mentors. I wanted more collaboration. I wanted a way to honor the people who have shaped me as a trainer, as an athlete, as a business owner, and as a human being moving through this wild journey of health and healing. I realized that when we do have time to connect about aging, resilience, nature, injury, identity, performance, parenting, leadership, the list could go on, the wisdom being shared is priceless. Each guest who said yes to being on this podcast has done exactly that. So today, this episode is my gratitude letter. A moment to look back at the first 10 guests who trusted me with their stories and their time. A moment to share what stayed with me long after we hit stop recording. And a moment to thank you, dear listeners, my clients, my community, for showing up each week, for sharing these episodes with your friends, and for reminding me that real-life connections and conversations really do matter. You know, when I look back at these first 10 guests, 2 who will still be released in the next 2 weeks, something surprising and beautiful emerges. There is a through line, not completely planned or scripted because I wasn't really sure how this was going to go in the first place, but that through line proved to be pretty organic. It's a shared story about growing through seasons of change, finding resilience in unexpected places, rebuilding trust with our bodies, navigating injuries, both seen and unseen, aging with intention, and how community is not just a nice thing to have, but in fact a lifeline. Nature came up again and again. Of course, if you know me, you know about my commitment to Mother Nature's gym. Healing was a theme, curiosity was a thread, and the idea that we all need people, coaches, therapists, teachers, friends who help us return to ourselves. I call them my team, and I love to ask the question, who's on your team? That's really the heartbeat of this show. And now I want to honor each of the first 10 guests who helped bring that heartbeat to life. Allow me, please, to reflect upon my first guests of my pilot season of the Mindful Trainer. We're going to talk about Ryan Gentry, aging with strength, presence, and self-compassion. Let me give you a little recap. Aging is one of those topics that a lot of people do not want to talk about or even face. But not only did my conversation with Ryan go there, Ryan opened the door and shined a light on it in a way that I haven't heard before, especially about men and aging. And that's a world layered with pressure, identity shifts, physical changes, and the stories we tell ourselves about decline. Ryan didn't just talk about aging like something we should accept laying down. He talked about it like we actually can have an influence over how we age. It was refreshing to hear a man my same age approaching our 40s now as a season of wisdom, of awareness, of listening more closely to the body instead of muscling through it. What stayed with me from the first 2 episodes that we did together was Ryan's sense of humor as he moves through life's challenges and pain points. To move with more intention, to make powerful choices about how we respond to setbacks, to stay connected to the body through movement throughout our entire lifetime. It reminded me that the people who age well aren't the ones who fight time. They're the ones who partner with it. Let's talk about Chris Kirchhoff, functional movement as a map back to nature. You know, Chris has this grounded, quiet strength that comes through the moment she starts talking. Our conversations were a reminder that functional training and adventure travel aren't so complicated. They're actually both so human. It's the way we move in nature, the way we prepare our bodies for a long trail day or a backpacking trip, or simply a life that asks us to be strong and capable. Chris brought me back to the simplicity and the joy of being a trainer and an adventure travel guide. Move well, move with purpose, move often, and when possible, move outside with other people. What stays with me is the wisdom of sitting with her pain, of looking at fighting one situation like the second arrow as if the first wasn't bad enough. Again, it's that choice point of how you choose to deal with the emotional and the physical pain of an injury that influences how you come out the other side. Jason Durtschi, Emotional Courage and the Medicine of Mindfulness. You know, Jason is a dear friend, and I think you'll hear that in the episodes we did together. Anytime we talk, I walk away with a deeper appreciation of him and a greater understanding of what it means to be human. In our 2 episodes, we explored emotional numbness, trauma, and the slow work of coming back to yourself. Then we moved on to a simple method to get grounded when life is happening. What I love most about Jason is his blend of compassion and practicality. He makes mindfulness feel like something you can actually use in everyday life. What stayed with me was his honesty. That healing isn't linear, mindfulness isn't perfect, and regulating your emotions is a lifelong practice, not a quick fix. I'm grateful for Jason's voice, for his friendship, and the way he reminds all of us to be aware and accepting of our inner world, and then to apply the healing balm of mindfulness that's required to get through life's hardest moments. Ami Kane Lee, we're going to talk about integrity, precision, and the safety that we don't see. You know how they say it can take decades to really know your spouse? Well, that's how this friendship with Ami feels. Talking with her in these episodes felt like pulling back the curtain on the world of Pilates, especially the explosion of reformer-only studios. Ami spoke with a level of integrity and precision that I expect from my best friends. That honesty shifted the way that I think about instructor education and about an entire industry. She reminded us that safety is not visible. It's not Instagrammable. It's rooted in science, anatomy, hard-earned experience, and most of all, commitment. What stays with me was Ami's fierce commitment to doing the things the right way, not the trendy way, and how her voice is helping people choose instructors who truly understand the body. Rafael Tokicz, training like an athlete at any age. Rafael brought pure energy into our conversation, the spark that challenges the assumptions we all internalize about age and athleticism. His message was clear. Athleticism is a mindset, not a birth date. He reminded us that we can train with intention and precision at any age, that movement patterns, mindset, and recovery become even more important as we get older, not less so. What stayed with me was Raf's firm conviction that we don't stop being athletes just because we stop competing. We stop being athletes when we stop training like one. And that perspective is deeply liberating. Kelvin Everett, rebuilding community in youth sports. My conversation with Kelvin really touched a nerve in a good way. We talked about youth sports in America and what's missing in so many systems today. Community, belonging, positive leadership, spaces where kids are allowed to make mistakes, build confidence, and grow up supported, not pressured little performers of parental dreams. What stayed with me was Kelvin's clarity that change doesn't have to start with big institutions. It starts with adults, parents, coaches, mentors, choosing to show up differently. Youth sports can be a place where kids learn resilience and identity, but only if we build the right culture around. Jennifer Schwartz, rebuilding strength and healing from the inside out. Jennifer brought vitality, biomechanics, and empowerment together in a way that felt not only synergistic, but downright revolutionary. We talked about the electricity of the human body, this power that is generated at the cellular level that we can tap into to create greater injury healing and conscious insight. Jennifer has this unique ability to explain complex mechanics in the simplest terms that just make sense. What stayed with me long after our episode was her message that healing doesn't start with pushing harder. It starts with learning what your body actually needs, not what you think it should be able to do. Her work is a gift to anyone recovering from injury. Lauren Ziaks and the invisible work of healing. My conversation with my physical therapist, Lauren, was one of the most important of the entire season for me. We talked about the chronic illnesses of concussion, long COVID, and dysautonomia, also known as invisible injuries. Lauren shared some necessary steps along the path of recovery and the emotional toll of symptoms that other people just don't see. What stayed with me was Lauren's dedication to patient advocacy and her willingness to share from a clinician's perspective. Slow is still progress. Healing the brain takes time. Healing the nervous system takes patience. And the people walking that road need more compassion than most people realize. Lauren's hopeful work changed my life when I was healing from post-concussive syndrome and then dysautonomia. And now her voice is changing lives, challenging systems, and she's going to help a lot of people. I'm grateful that she shared her wisdom with us. Still to come in the next 2 weeks, Rachel Friedman Elberts, the Stoke coach, from Manhattan to the mountains. We'll be releasing episode 15 with Rachel next week, so I don't want to spoil it just now. Rachel is one of those unique outliers in the fitness industry. Someone who bears the title of a certified personal trainer, but would really prefer to do her work exclusively outside of the studios, in the wild open spaces of Mother Nature's gym. Rachel is a friend, a colleague, a curious seeker, and a purveyor of creativity and earnest, honest living. She inspires me to take the time to examine my life and why I'm doing what I'm doing. I can't wait for you to listen to her story and decide how to integrate her path into your own fitness practice. Mike Hench on self-care for therapists. No spoilers here either. Mike's episode will round out the season, and that will come up about 2 weeks from now. Mike's journey through heartache is something a lot of people will be able to relate to. He went through a bitter divorce, lost his children, then nearly lost his way before finding peace again after a near-death fall. Mike is one of my oldest friends, so you're going to hear a lot of candor and vulnerability in this episode. So today, as we move into Thanksgiving, I want to take just a moment to say to Ryan, Chris, Jason, Ami, Rafael, Kelvin, Jennifer, Lauren, Rachel, and Mike, thank you. Thank you for lending your voices, your stories, your expertise, and your hearts to this show. Thank you for your longtime friendship and camaraderie. To my listeners, thank you for tuning in each week, for sharing episodes, for sending messages, for showing up in this community with curiosity and openness. To my clients, thank you for trusting me with your bodies, your goals, and your healing. To my team of students at the BYU Marriott School of Business on-campus internship for supporting me every step of the way. And to Owen, who got me started as a producer and gave me the confidence to take this leap. To the entire WebWell community, thank you for giving me a sense of purpose every day. I love this work and I'm grateful to all of you. As we enter the holiday season, my invitation to you is simple. Eat all the holiday pastries you want, but protect your investment and don't stop working out. Thank you for being part of the Webb Well way of life and listening to the Mindful Trainer podcast. I'll see you next week with more inspiration, more stories, and more ways to bring mind, body, and nature together in your everyday life. Happy Thanksgiving, everyone. The Mindful Trainer is the official podcast of Webb Well. I'm your host, Melanie Webb. I'm also the founder and master trainer at Webb Well. To learn more about Webb Well and all we have to offer, please visit webbwell.com.